waiting for other players. It looks like we're
Here we go. Alright, very warm welcome to the first of the Group C games. And we have a map here that, let's have a look. There are two spots of carbon on this map. They are both lows. There is not very much water on this map either, although there is the dry ice for the carbon as well, of course. So generally very high steel. It's going to be a really interesting start, I think, because these players are really going to be forced into steel. But it's pretty expensive.
absolutely, and it looks like if you could go scavenger somehow, it would be great, but you really just can't. So this looks like there's a um there's a possible spot in the southeast where you could do something like man, it really looks like a robotic map in my opinion,
Yeah, I
honestly.
think it does too. I think if not robotic, then expansive, and that's what Hexapus has gone with immediately in the top left-hand corner. An expansive there. He's got a little aluminum mine going, also an iron mine going, but only the one steel mill, which is a little bit troubling. I think you need a bit more than that at the moment with steel being as it is.
Yep.
Fox Blazing with the robotic found that we were expecting in the southeast corner, and also Jim Bob with another expansive found. Again, two steel mills for both of those guys. Kennen in the bottom left-hand corner, going for the level 1 wind turbine. That's not maybe the best choice given that power started at 20.
Yeah, the biggest problem with going into power right now, not only is the power starting at 20, but your steel is at 132, so that's going to take forever to make that up, unfortunately. Um, and I see that Fox is actually the first one to HQ2. This is a good scenario here where iron is super low and steel is nice and high. So what I would have preferred to see is you buy up about 100 something iron and just build three steel mills. That'll take you all the way to HQ2, and then you can supplement it with the iron. That way you get to the upgrade a little bit faster.
Well, Fox Blazing going very, very heavy into this steel. Two iron, a high and a medium, along with three steel mills, which is not very surprising. Steel is the most profitable thing on the map now. Jim Bob gets the upgrade as well. Hexapus also limped along to the upgrade, and he's got a third steel mill in production too, along with the two iron mines. So it's pretty much as you would expect the start of this game to go. Jim Bob's gone into a silicon, which is an interesting start. Maybe to try and get a head start on that glass market.
Let's see. Oh yeah, he's got the low silicon. I so here's what I would prefer. I love Jim Bob's start. One of the and I love that he gooned the medium water already. So that's gonna be good. The only problem is, oh, there's a mutiny on Jim Bob on this steel by what
Yeah,
is
by
that?
Canon. That's going to be very annoying for Jim
It's
Bob
gonna be annoying, but I
because
don't
it
think they're really.
disconnects his steel. I mean, yeah, it's obviously a terrible mutiny in terms of it doesn't do anything for Canon at all. He has to ship a bunch of iron out over there. It's not, yeah, it's really not helpful for him. But it's also annoying for Jim Bob because suddenly he has to ship the iron and steel back and forth and micromanage that a little bit more now to get the steel quickly.
So over here for what I was saying for Jim Bob, what I would have liked to see instead of there we go. That's Hexapus targets Fox Blazing with the power surge that should have come a long time ago because that's not gooned. One of the I love Fox Blazing going in heavily into steel. What I don't like is his positioning because everything is right next to this power surge is going to shut everything down. And what I would have liked to see is, I mean, he kind of got himself stuck in this crater a little bit more. I think I
Yeah,
would have preferred getting up on the plateau, even though you're not next to the iron, just to spread out a little bit more.
yeah, I think that's the issue, isn't it? He's sort of trapped a little bit in there. He's got two adjacencies to the sort of southwest of his base, but there's an annoying rock there that stops that from being a triangle. So it's really the only place he can go if he wants a reliable triangle up there. But unfortunately, it's quite vulnerable to the black market.
So let's see. So Hexapus was targeted with the underground nuke. That's going to slow him down a bunch on the aluminum. That's pretty good. The network virus.
Oh, so he spied out the water with the intention of nuking it, but Hexapus had gooned it, and so the network virus is the cheap goon popper rather than the nuke.
Let's see.
It's
Oh, and and Fox Blazing is trying to nuke out. Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of
So,
commitment onto that, and he's actually gooned his own medium water as well, Fox Blazing.
and magnetic storms are coming down from Hexbus. I see. I don't know that I agree with the magnetic storms at this point because the only thing that's really getting shipped that far. I mean, I'm assuming it's for a little bit of the water and a little bit of the aluminum, but they're both not that expensive. I would rather
Yeah.
see a power surge on something like food, for instance, where that's actually making some serious money and nobody else is really into it.
Yeah, the food is doing great things for Fox Blazing at the moment. He's certainly taken an early lead in this game. He actually has a stockpile as well, so he can pretty much upgrade whenever he wants. If he
Yeah,
sells the
I'm
food
wondering
down.
if I'm wondering if he's actually buying into it or if he just accumulated that much because nobody shut it down.
I mean, just looking at the little spark line on the price, I think he's just accumulated it. I don't think he's very aggressively buying into it. He has upgraded now after cashing some of it out at least. I think he just wants to keep the price high to get everyone else in debt, which is a smart
So
thing to do.
So let's go over to Hexapus really quickly, because he's been relatively quiet. So, um, one thing that I would like to point out in this case is this pleasure dome, by the way, is going to be worth it. That's 120 120 a second. The only negative about it right now is it's going to consume a bunch of power,
Yep.
but the cash is better than the debt.
Yep. In the short term, it's considerable debt, but yeah, it's definitely better to have the cash coming in as well as the debt. And
So, what I was going to point out for Hexapus is he's in B debt, so he's at 60K. Here's one thing that I see every once in a while from some players. They look at the power and they go, "Wow, that's 152 a second." But he's in B debt. So one of the negatives about this is where he should be skipping power and going into something that's going to make him money. Like you can go into food or you can go into glass, something like that where he can turn a profit. Because right now those two wind turbines, I understand he wants to keep his debt in check, but as you can see, they're targeted
oh,
right there, unfortunately, and
painful.
those are two dead tiles for a really long time. I guess he was looking at it thinking, oh, well, there's a dust storm coming. I can make up some ground. But, I mean, going into something else like glass would have been a little bit better if he has access. Does he have access? Oh, he doesn't even really have access to silicon unless he goes out and gets it. So.
Yeah, I mean that's the only real issue. Fox Blazing has some silicon, and so does Jim Bob. But Hexabus really doesn't, so he's kind of at the mercy of the market.
Hmm.
Having said that, glass is so good. Oh my goodness, it's so good. 235, net revenue 65, and that's with high power as well, and that's for one without adjacency. So glass is still really, really good.
And it's going to continue to be good because the colony is actually consuming 1.4 glass a second. So having access to that that would have been a whole lot better. Oh wow, there's a double mutiny.
That was a wind turbine and another wind turbine mutinied away by two different people.
I think it was actually the same person, Ken JK. I believe has both of them. So it looks like he was just stocking up on them. He
Oh,
is
yeah,
making
okay.
power, which is good, but he's still gonna have a couple of issues. The biggest issue I have is that the claims are spread out. I would say that this isn't necessarily the best place to go scientific, just because you don't have close access to
Yeah,
any
I,
water goods or
I would
anything.
tend to agree. I think if he was going to go scientific, he needed to go into that little iron field, which is just sort of northwest of where he is.
Oh
Even then,
yeah.
it's not that good because there's no water nearby. It's just a little
Honestly,
bit.
if you wanted to go scientific, the only place I could really justify it is probably where you're talking about, or near some silicon somehow, just to see. But there's still not a really great place. The only place I would have potentially gone silicon or scientist is down where Jim Bob is, where you could use slant drilling, expand that
Yeah.
a little bit more, and then you could get a triangle of glass. You could get a whole bunch of water tiles right there. That's really the only good place for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Fox Blazing is HQ5, and he has quite a significant lead in this game now. He's got 3 electrolysis reactors, 3 greenhouse farms as well, and he has pretty good water, honestly. 2 mediums with adjacency. He also had, well, in fact, that's slant drilling, isn't it? Yeah, it's slant drilling. So he's taken the silicon tile as well away from Jim Bob, which is going to hurt him. Hexapus does get to 4, but he's considerably behind. Fox Blazing needs to find something to do with this cash that he has now, because he has a very big advantage. He's got 40k in cash, he's got much more than that in resources. So are we going to see him attack somebody at some point in the very near future? I think if I were him, I would.
So there's something to be said about the one thing that Hexapus has done well is he's kept using black market very well in terms of stocking up on things. Every time the black market cooldown comes, he buys something else. So right there, Fox was targeted by the underground nuke by Hexapus, and I guess that was, he used the virus to see if there was a goon, and then he hit the elemental quarry. Unfortunately, what he didn't really notice is that Fox Blazing has slant drilling, so it's from a high to a medium. So that maybe wasn't the best use of the network virus. What I would have done instead is you can actually cause more damage to somebody by popping Jim Bob's water goon, nuking that tile, because then you take both medium waters out by doing that.
2 things that I've just noticed. One is that off-worlds are incredibly, incredibly good. Oxygen is at 660, 670 now with the launch. 46k profit, so people need to go into off-worlds very quickly. The second thing is that Fox Blazing really needs to do something with this large amount of cash that he has. He's got a couple of potential targets, and I think Jim Bob now is the most likely target. Yeah, that's what he's going straight into, Jim Bob.
Yeah, and that's a good buy. The thing is, Jim Bob is close to being able to defend if he notices. He's gonna fall short.
20,000 short at least, and Fox, he easily has the money.
Yeah, and if you notice, Jim Bob is actually still expanding and building buildings, and unfortunately, he's got to not build buildings. I don't think he's gonna be able to catch up. So
yeah, no, I don't think so either. I think he's dead. And I think that means that Fox Blazing really, I mean, he's going to have a huge stock price, a huge advantage in just about every way over Hexapus, except for the fact that Hexapus is expansive. But even that, I don't think will be enough in this late game.
Yeah, unfortunately, Hexapus has C debt, and that's going to be, he's already at 106k. So his share price is just that far down. I don't think that he's going to be able to make up the difference there.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Hexapus going into Fox Blazing, but he needs a lot more money than he's got to even make a dent into that share price. He needs, another 170-ish thousand? And he's got 30 at the moment in cash and resources. That's not enough, and Fox Blazing is going to be able to defend himself very soon. He also just put up an off-world. He's the first to that as well, and we've seen that the off-worlds are insanely profitable, 50,000 per launch in profit. So I think Fox Blazing, I think this game is his to lose now.
Well, to tell you the truth, here's what I would end up doing. I'm not going to give it to Fox Blazing yet, because if you notice, he's going to be spending, he just spent 71k or 87k putting up an off-world, but he hasn't defended himself. What
That's true,
Hexapus
but
should do is
look how much money Hexapus needs, though. He literally needs 150,000, and he doesn't have that earning potential at the moment, even close to it. He's also in deep debt. I'm struggling to see a way in which he pulls anything out.
I was hoping that he had some means of, he's making a bunch of money on glass, but he's continually getting frozen out. The steel is fire. Everything he has is profitable. It's just, I think he has too many claims away from his base, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that might be true. It's all profitable, but he's not actually making that much stuff. He is now that he's 5, he's getting 3 farms up as well, which will help. But he actually doesn't have access to that much water, so he's kind of at the mercy of the water market as well. It's going to be really difficult for him.
So the way that I'm looking at it though, I mean he just got an extra triangle there. Unfortunately, all of that is really susceptible where he could still get shut down. I mean, EM power surges are getting a little bit more expensive, but I don't, I mean, I don't know. I look at Hexapus, and the difficulty with this is that he has two mines away from his base. He has two separate non-adjacent water.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. Is that's pretty much the whole issue. Like all of his water is non-adjacent, which
And
it's
that's
not efficient
claim
at all in terms
water.
of claims.
So the reason that the reason that I didn't like Hexapus's found right here is it's really, I mean, that would have been a good robotic found over there, I think.
Mm. Yeah, I
But
tend to
not
agree.
a really expansive found. The one thing he could do to correct this, though, in the future is take one take one metal mine and switch from there's actually a canyon right next to his base. So if he wanted to, he could have gone into some wind turbines right next to his base, as opposed to up on the
Mm.
hill. And then you can rotate those around. Either that or go into solar panels and get your power that way. Unfortunately, when power crashes out, you can't switch out of it, and you've got one, two, three, four. You know, he can't really switch out of his metal mine. Like he can, but they're not the best. So
Yeah,
that's how I picked that.
Fox Blazing cleans the game up anyway. He didn't even defend himself at all in the
Yes.
end of that when he just rode the robotic snowball to a win. Um, a couple of things. So, Kenan, if you're watching, I know we haven't talked much about you this game. The thing you need to do first when you found is make stuff that helps you upgrade. Going into power is not something you need to, particularly when power is really low. You need to make iron and steel, which is what you needed to upgrade in the first couple of levels. Certainly, that's what you need to prioritize. Um, and yeah, going back to the robotic point, I think Fox Blazing did read the map much better, and also honestly, he found it where he had. Actually, that's not true. He didn't find where he had better access to water, but he got the slant drilling. He had a plan to get the water with adjacency. Um, and that helped him out an awful lot, even though he was robotic, because it was so poor on water. The map, it was really difficult for people to get enough water.
Yep, and there he says, I knew water was a problem, so I went with robotic, and I think
Yeah,
robotic was probably the strongest one here. It's not only is the water poor, but there are nukes on the market, and so that's where you would tend, if you tend to go with robotic and focus on slant drilling, that's going to insulate you the most, and then you can play around with water if you want to, where other people can't, and you know they just can't match.
yeah,
So
and he did keep he made food in the first couple of levels and did keep the price high, which ended up really hurting Hexapus because he ended up being in D debt without really any ability to make food. And
yeah,
as soon as anyone else tried to make food, of course, Fox Blazing had the stockpile and just killed the market as much as he could.
yeah. Let's see. Are there any other takeaways from this? Oh wow! I do have a takeaway. Looking at Jim Bob's position, if you notice, eventually what ends up happening, like take a look at how many claims he's used away from his base. So he eventually got teleportation, but look how far those two water are away. They're
Good
clear
grief!
across the map.
Yeah,
And
I
then
think one of those is an AI claim. Honestly, I think he only had one of those before he
oh,
was
that's
bought
true
out.
because yeah, because he was bought at HQ4.
Yeah.
Um, But just as a general guide, though, even when you're expansive, this is one, two, three, four. He's got silicon claim. He's got he has six of his claims are away from his base right here, which means that you can't rotate them later on. That's it's just another reason why if you go robotic around this area, then you'd be in a better situation. So.
Yep, I
So
think
yeah,
that's true.
read it correctly, and I probably would have gone robotic, or potentially you could have gone scientist down here if you really wanted to stretch it. But I didn't see how expensive chemicals were to start off with, so it might not have even been worth it.
I think it was. I think they were reasonably expensive, but
Okay.
the key thing about Fox Blazing is that as robotic, he did get those early game advantages, and he did, I think, use them the right way. He got
Yes.
his patent lab, he got the slant drilling, which was really important for his plans, and then as soon as he had the money, he majority bought the person who was most vulnerable, and that's pretty much how you win. He got the off world as well as quickly as he could because they were so good. Um, just all of that was very well played. He certainly seemed to be the player who read the macro the best in this game.
Correct. Yeah. And just a really quick review. If you look at where he made his money in food, and
Yeah,
Octopus was very late to get into food, which essentially funnels money into Fox Blazing. And Jim Bob's food was shut down a bunch, and then Kennen not going into food at all. This essentially just meant that Fox could sit on all of the food, make a ton of money from it, and that's how he won the game right there. So
yeah. Hexapus bought $83,000 worth of food. That is a lot of food to buy, and that's a lot
yes,
of debt to get into.
absolutely. So I think that that's about it.